Ulonkata bati yada tó yẹ kó máa da ifá. Inú tó yẹ kó jẹun ló fi bí pa. Ọba tálá, ọba takuntakun. Ṣàngó, Eshu, Ògún, Ọya, Ọ̀ṣun. Ìwọ ló ń bọ̀ nílé. Kí ni ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tán ṣe nílé yìí o? Ó jẹ́ lọ jára.
Oloye, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Orisha Bami, and today we are joined by none other than our distinguished community elder, the Oba, the Oloye, Baba Ifa Karade. Oloye, Baba, what's going on, man? How you doing, Baba?
Blessings, peace and blessings. Okay, why da. Feeling fine. Okay, I'm warmed up. Put in a couple of hours on the bag on the machine, and it's like mentally, physically, spiritually. Yeah, man. You know.
Yes.
All right, peace and blessings, good people. All right.
Yes, sir.
Ase tribe, Divination in the house. Okay.
Yes, sir. Shout out to and Kosi already in the building. Shout out to Ballerina Witch, to Ashe, long time supporters from day ones. Been there rocking with us, riding with us real heavy and strong. We appreciate y'all. And Kosi, Ballerina, all the tribe, man. We appreciate y'all. New announcements for new members. We appreciate all of y'all. Shout out to Dr. King. We want to give honor and praise to, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for all the work that he has contributed to us as a people, us as a culture, us as a nation, as well as us as the globe. Shout out to Dr. King, man, for all the work that he did pouring into, the Civil Rights Act. And then also, family, we got a couple of few announcements. Shout out to Professor James Smalls, who will be ramping up the marketing and promoting of the Professor Smalls event going down in Jacksonville on February 16th, 2025. We got that coming up pretty soon, y'all. So I got the link to the tickets on the channel as well as on the website, and I'll be sharing more links for that, for the event as well. And then also we have the official date for the Ojise Institute of Ifa Isheshe Studies, which will be launching effectively February 6th, 2025. Yes. I had to catch myself because that 7 been trying to come out all night on me. So February 6th, 2025, family, will be the official launch for the Ojise Institute. So I'll be sharing a lot more, of that coming up into the community and the community tab, as well as on the up and coming podcast shows. And then also, Baba, you said that there's a couple of things that you wanted to address before we get into today's topic. Peace and blessings, Mika. Appreciate you joining us. Appreciate all the tribe for joining us. The Ashe Nation in full effect. Appreciate all y'all, family.
All right. Blessings. All right. No, what I wanted to, weave in, braid in, is all part and parcel of the podcast focus, for this evening, brother.
I got you.
I just want to echo, the powerful intro that you let flow a couple of minutes ago. All right.
I shall. Let me find out. We have a freestyle Monday.
Yeah, man. Because the world is just kind of falling apart, but we're strong. We're holding it in our Ogun strength, and in the power of Orisha and our ego, in spite of the walls closing in and crumbling down around us,
right.
Politically speaking, we're holding on. We're holding on to one another. We're holding on to our tradition. We're holding on to our perspectives, and we're holding on to each generation, not only 7 behind us, but 7, in front of us. So whatever's happening now, it's just a brick in the road. We're either going to ride over it or we're going to move it out the way, but it's not going to stop us.
I know that's right.
Sure. And in homage to the opening of the Ojise Institute. First of all, Ekushé to you, my brother, for laying down the foundation, and as we mixed the cement and poured it in DC style, to make sure that this is a solid statement. It's just not a leaf in the wind kind of, oh, well, we're going to give Orisha classes. It's like, no, we're establishing an institution, wherein there's a core curriculum based on the fundamentals and basis of our philosophical, spiritual, quote unquote, religious directives. It's a school of thought. It's a school of ascension. It's a school of knowledge. It's not a theatrical, kind of statement.
Drama.
Yeah,
I say it's not a drama school. We're not working with one of them.
In more ways than one.
Right. That part.
We're gonna be straight up and we're gonna get it done. Okay. So again, I appreciate you and for all the people who are signed up and who intend on signing up. We say at Cabo, we welcome you, because see, one of the things that is being discovered more and more, is that people are going through rituals and initiations and getting, everything under the sun except knowledge, except understanding. And therefore, how is it even possible to attain wisdom? Okay. So what happens is that we just, we keep the tradition alive, by constantly reenacting. And please don't get me wrong, and I keep having to say this because see, people get antsy and they get a little uptight when it seems as though something new is coming across, or something that kind of rattles, the quote unquote status quo, or that's the way I was brought up, or that's what I was told, or and all of that. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, who am I? You understand? But for those of us who see a vision beyond the conditioned state of mind, and beyond the confines of reenactment, and believing what we're told, as opposed to cross-referencing and introspecting our own experiences, there needs to be a place for us too. And the Institute will be a place for those of us who wish to not just intellectualize, but at least think about what we're doing and come to grips with our own capacity to be accountable and to be thoughtful and mindful of not only what we're doing, but why we're doing it, and be flexible enough to grow and to change.
I'll echo off of what Baba was saying, family, because like his internet might have froze up a little bit, so I'm pretty sure he probably be able to reboot that thing and come back in. But yeah, pretty much he was hitting on the fact that a lot of us have been constrained, a lot of us have been restrained, a lot of us have just not been trained in regards to our spiritual practice, especially when it comes to Ifa and Sheshe. I think one of the common themes of the conversation that Baba and I have been having off air, technology is technology, and then also Baba's up there in the Northeast, so shout out to the Ashe tribe that's up there, excuse me, in the Northeast, because I know there's a lot of storms going on, and he's got a big snowstorm that he's dealing with up there in that Jersey and New York tri-state area. So there's definitely a lot going on with the weather, as well as with the technology and the internet as well. So it's always something that's trying to slow down the train, but man, it ain't gonna slow it down. Excuse me. But to pick back up before the call, to get into the training aspect, there's a lot of people who have been through the tradition that have no training whatsoever in regards to what to do with what the symbolism is for the Elekes, or what are some of the things that we should know in regards to once we receive our warriors, as well as what are some of the things that we should know in regards to when we receive the hand of Ifa, as well as, once we get initiated. And I think it's one of those things where it's so many different elements that can kind of come into how all that unfolds and how it all plays out. Perfect example, there's some people that I know that went to Nigeria and got initiated, into Ifa or Orisha, but they haven't been able to keep in contact with their Olowos, their teachers or initiators in regard to the training aspects. And I think that's one of the things that has been a challenge for a lot of different people. And then you get the fact where you see there's a lot of different information, a lot of misinformation, and a lot of conflicting stories in regards to how certain rituals, certain prayers, certain orikis, certain incantations, certain invocations, there's so many different elements that come into play with the tradition that I think a lot of people get a lot of things misconstrued or confused or cross-referenced, and mixed up in, getting taught one thing by one person, they're getting taught another thing by another person, and then it can kind of cause conflict. But one of the things that me personally, I've been blessed with is teachers and mentors and guides, in the faith and in life in general, that have always kind of gave me the freedom to do what works for me in regards to long as you're doing the work the right way with the right intentions and working on developing and having Iwa Pele in the process of doing so, because it's not a cookie cutter, tradition. And there's so many different dynamics and elements that go into, this particular tradition, based upon, who the progenitors are, based upon who the initiators are, the people who are teaching, this process or teaching this journey or teaching the spiritual system. Like, it's going to be a lot of, I would say, fingerprints and DNA from those people that kind of go into the people that they bring into the faith. And it's the same thing kind of like with our children. Like when we have children, of course, genetically, we're tied to our children because of the genetic makeup, but also in the spiritual system, spiritual practice is kind of similar because we have the fingerprints or the ashe and the spiritual DNA of those people who bring us in as well. So it's kind of, I feel like, up to us to still ultimately, do what we need to do to teach ourselves, to train ourselves, to daily, on a daily basis, reinitiate ourselves into whatever growth, expansion, elevation, manifestation, all these different aspects of life, like the way that it works best for us, I feel like is the best way to do it. And I think that's one of the things that I appreciate and respect the most about Baba Karade is the fact that he's always been a teacher who will give you the process, give you, the framework, the guidance, the instructions, etc. And then, kind of give you the green light to go ahead and to do your thing, how you see fit. And so that's one of the things I appreciate about Baba. And it looks like the technology is really technologying. Queen, I appreciate you. I see the little arrow coming up on my screen as well. So like they're really trying to the energies at play are really trying to hold us from getting it in today, but we're gonna keep pushing through. Hopefully Baba can get on, back on to the live stream. If not, worst case scenario, we'll reschedule it and make it happen again in the very near future. Hopefully we can get through it today because I was planning to have the community calls tomorrow. I believe at 6:30. I'll be sending that Zoom link out today after the show. Hopefully we can get through this live stream though, because if not, then I might have to kind of wiggle around how we do the schedule because we got another live stream, I believe, Wednesday with Professor Cabernet coming back in. And then Baba and I was working on doing, I believe, the VIP call this weekend. But hopefully we can fight through this internet and through Baba's storm up there so we can get this live, popping today because we really want to get deep into some of the fundamentals and some of the overview pretty much of the Institute in regards to a lot of things that we'll be getting into. I do want to share some of it, but I want to wait for Baba to see how much he wants to share in regards to it's a lot of things that people are hijacking these days in terms of content and things of that nature. But it is what it is because at the end of the day, the tribe we rock with, y'all rock with us because y'all rock with us. But and other people can take the formula or take the topics, the titles, etc. But it's still not putting the same ashe into it. But with that, family, if y'all have any questions until we get Baba back on, we definitely want to get into some Q&A today as well. To chop it up with the tribe, we was going to go over like some of the different milestone podcasts that him and I have had together, Baba and I, and one of them was the Warriors. Like that was one that I feel like really took off for us. The Warriors Part 1 and Part 2. because it was like a lot of different aspects of the warriors that a lot of people didn't know, including people who, you know, are initiated priests, people who have been in the tradition, who have been in the faith for years, you know, learned a lot in that episode, or those episodes, you know, about the warriors. Like we got into the tools for Ogun, what the tools for Ogun are used for into the pot, how Eshu is not just, you know, the messenger of the crossroads and the mediator of the Orisha, but also how he's connected to our nervous system. Excuse me, when we talk about like communication, like how our nerves communicate, you know, with our brain, how it communicates with our heart, and how it communicates with, you know, the blood flow. Like everything is about communication. So that's something that I never realized until Baba broke that down on the episode with the warriors. I think that was part 1, when he went into how Eshu, you know, is tied to the nervous system in regards to how our nervous system communicates, you know, with the rest of our body. So it was a lot that, you know, we kind of hit and tapped into over the last nine and a half months or so, you know, since we've been going ham with the Ojise podcast with Baba. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, if he's able to get back in. I haven't seen him yet. But if y'all have any questions, tribe that you know, y'all want to chop up and get into, I'm all ears in regards to like a Q&A. You know, so until we get Baba back in, and if we don't, then I'll definitely reschedule with him and make it happen again. But hopefully we can get him back on the back onto the live stream. But for that, until you know, if anybody has any questions or want to hit some topics, until we get Baba back, I do look forward to chopping it up with the private community tomorrow. I guess depending on how this goes with this live stream. Worst case, I think I probably could do both of them tomorrow. We could probably do the community call earlier, and then have the, if we can't finish this live stream, we can kind of bring it back tomorrow night as well, because it was a lot that we wanted to get into with y'all. And Baba had several topics that he wanted to get into, and then I wanted to focus primarily on kind of giving the updates in regards to the community and the institute, because we'll have, like I said, the community call Tuesday, I think, and then the VIP call this weekend, and then we got another live coming up with Professor Kaba Wednesday, and then we got the Professor Smalls event on the 16th of February. So with that, tribe, I don't know if Baba was able to get back in yet or not, and like my internet's still acting up too. So they definitely the Ajogun is definitely at play today, trying to hold us down on this good Dr. King Day. So anyways, family, did y'all do anything in honor of Dr. King today? Anybody do any special events? I know they usually have like a lot of different events here. I didn't hear too much about too many of them down here where I'm at, but I know they usually have like big parades. I think in Pinellas County and St. Petersburg, Florida, they had the big MLK Day Parade. And I believe there used to be a couple of different functions and banquets that they would have in honor of Dr. King, but I don't recall seeing any. So mine is freezing too. Yeah, this is crazy. Let's see. I appreciate you, Mika. Yeah, I think I don't know what's up, because I see it on my screen too. The internet is like not working, and I see it's like I got like one bar, which is nuts, because it was working fine all day, and all of a sudden it don't want to work. So let's see. And Kosi, I got you. That's a good question. So for the most part, we're going to be using the handbook, of course, and then we're going to use Imoye, and then we're going to use the Ifa Orisha religious tradition, a new global perspective, as well as, of course, Ojise, and then of course the journal as well. We'll be working with all of those, you know, in that first semester. And so what we're looking at is how we're going to do it. We're definitely going to do at least 2 semesters per year. So the one that's starting in February will be the first one, and then we're going to kind of see how it goes in regards to time and our schedules, you know, how we're able to make sure that we do it to the best of our abilities without, you know, overbooking or stretching ourselves too thin. But we're definitely going to do another one in the second half of the year. So we're going to kind of, because it's our first year doing it, we're going to kind of go, I guess, with these 2 for sure, but we might possibly have a third one this year, but definitely we're going to have one the first half of the year and the second half of the year. So hopefully that answers your question, and Kosi. And then Queen said we need to work on a specific VIP call day so it can be consistent. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, and it's tough too because it's a challenge because Baba and I got different schedules. So I think, and then for me, not only do I have different schedules like work related, but also to work around my parents' schedule as well as Baba's work schedule and my work schedule. That's where it becomes difficult at times because, for example, sometimes they might have a game and I don't know, exactly when the game is going to be or how many games they're going to have, and then also the practice days change. So it's a lot that's kind of real tough for me at this point in time. I think when the summertime comes, it'll probably be easier. And then also, I got a couple of other projects that just came up that I'm excited about. They're excellent opportunities, but they're probably going to demand some time from me as well, to where I have to kind of fill it out over the next couple of months to really lock in dates for sure. But as of now, I think we definitely will be having at least one VIP call every other week, and then we're going to keep those going until the institute starts. And once the institute officially launches, then we'll kind of switch up the tiers a little bit. So we'll have the Ojise Institute will be for those who are in VIP now that come over to the institute, and then y'all know what we spoke about in regards to that. We're gonna give y'all like a grandfather. Then Alafia Ni Oshun Ni, we're gonna grandfather y'all in for what y'all have done for being early supporters for the VIP tribe. So that goes for you, Queen, and Kosi, Ms. Rodriguez, and the rest of the VIP family. So we're going to create a special tier for y'all to kind of merge over if you want to. But also, to answer your question, Mika, the Ojise Institute, I won't say that it'll be for beginners, just to be real with you. However, that's where your question is perfect timing, because that gives me the opportunity to segue into what is going to happen with the transition. So what is the VIP tier now? Once we launch the institute, that's going to transition into a study group. So that's going to be the Ase and Its study group, and that one is going to be the one where it'll help beginners, from pretty much brand new starting up until preparing to go into the institute, because Baba, he's been doing this for 40 something years. So it's like he has already kind of compiled, I think, all the research and all the studies and all the different work that he's done. But I think what's even more dope is that he's taken into account all the different questions that we've had on the podcast, all the different questions that we get or we have had on the podcast. And then also all the calls that he takes and fields, off air, as well as myself, all the different calls and different, just the kind of different consultations, or just different, I would say consultations or coaching calls, guidance calls, whatever you want to call it, with whether it's friends, families, clients, etc. We're going to kind of compile all of the different questions and all of the different things that we get the most from people, and kind of put that into what Baba has developed as the curriculum for the Ojise Institute. But the cool part about it is, like I said, Mika, is the study group, the Ase Ifa study group. That's where I'll be going over like the basic fundamentals and, to get started for beginners. So, like I said in the previous couple of podcasts, there you go, Baba. I'll say how the 4 main steps of daily devotion, as well as like what what Orishas receive, what offerings, what day each Orisha is honored and revered on Oshe. Whatever day, like today is Osei Shango or Yade today. So, we'll go through like what offerings we can give, what prayers, what orikis, incantations, invocations, etc. So that's where I'll be going with the study group. We'll be going pretty much from starting, from the very start of what people will kind of come into with their journey, and then, work our way up to what I call Baba is the Ojise Institute, which is the university. So the Ase Ifa study group will be kind of like the junior college, Mika. So, but we're gonna go in though. I got a lot. Matter of fact, on the on the private community call tomorrow, I'll be sharing a lot more from where I left off with the last one that we had, I think last week. So, bye. Welcome back, man. I held it down while you were gone, man, and we got some good Q&A going. Thanks to Queen and Kosi and Mika and Oshun Ni. So we still riding, Baba.
Brother, you know how we do, man. We got each other's back, as they say.
Oh, yeah.
Got all little technical, situations, but you see,
I told the tribe, we ain't no easy win.
yeah,
And
So,
this ain't our first day on the rodeo either. We done been through these many times before.
So, all that said, right? We're ready to open the doors to strengthen the the concept of the institution and the crystallization of the institution. And the purpose is not just to get people in, but it's to get people through. Like I share with my students, I want to go to college. I say, well, it's very easy to get to college. The hard part is getting through it. And then getting over, because there's a lot of wanting to do in the world. There's a lot of wanting to learn. There's a lot of wanting, to expand. However, when trials come and teachings again start to rattle the cage of conditioned mindsets, then we find that people, for the most part, get a little antsy, a little jumpy, little angst. And it's supposed to be somewhat uncomfortable. How is growth going to occur? Without change? So what comes through into this physical world? Be it a seed planted in the soil, or a seed planted in any living creature. Well, the earth is a living essence, okay, but that processing, that rebirthing, that reinitiation of self, it's going to take effort, not just time, but also effort. Okay, so I like to set the stage and say, okay, we're going to have a study group, okay, led by Baba Orisha, okay, and bringing forth not just, what are we going to do for the Orisha, and the Orisha, but what about the cultural context? You understand? What about some knowledge of the soil that we are stating somewhat emphatically that we wish to grow in, and then by the time you step foot into the Ojise Institute, it's going to be full steam ahead. We have a tendency, and it's not our doing, to kind of want the end without traveling the road. We are taught emphatically to kind of submit to this notion of going to heaven. And I know I'm putting a little finger on the pulse here, but I have to. We can't dismiss what the walls of our conditioned minds are made of. We can't ebo it away. We can't ritualize it, ad infinitum. We're just gonna do more rituals and make more ebos. There's people out there who've been in the faith 16, 20 and more years who lack knowledge. Not because they can't learn, but because this road of, strengthening this other than concept, and this, all we were was ritual people, and all we did was, dance, drum, and make our bows kind of thing. It's really something that is in need of being iconoclastically, ascended. I won't even say blown apart. I would say ascended, because we're still dealing with Eurocentric Christian missionary doctrines and teachings and mindsets. The school system is a reflection of a missionary school system. As I've stated numerous times, I still recall saying prayer in school. It wasn't that long ago when it was banned from public school systems. You know, so that in mind, okay, establishing a cultural context based on not some supernatural directive, but a super intellectual directive, and an emotional maturity directive, a spiritually enhancing directive. Okay? This is what's missing. There's no doubt about it. You know, I've been on another plane of existence, as I shared with Baba Orisha Bami a few years ago, where I was not involved with Ifa Isheshe the way that people felt as though I should have continued being involved. Okay, I utilized that passion and that ashe, if you will, you know, to co-found a gymnastics school run by the Karade families. Okay. And this is going back 16, 18 years, and it's still in existence. I didn't make one ebo. I didn't do one divination. I just walked the walk of our tradition. I talked the talk. I built an institution. And before me, when I was initiating people, I sent people out to institutionalize Ifa and Isheshe and be teachers, be philosophers, be those who study. And it's okay for the rituals and the bimbes and the ebos and all that kind of stuff, but we have to understand that those are just a couple of fingers on the hand. But we can't seem to break free of that, you know? I try to teach people, and it's like, well, do I have to do more rituals? I'm like, well, daggone, how many rituals do you need to do? You know, how many books have you read? What cross-referencing have you done? And, you know, how serious has your introspection been? Oh, well, you know, we don't do much of that. Well, okay, maybe that's why you are where you are after 20, 30 years. Okay, because we're not set to learn. You know, we're set to do. We're set to mimic. Okay, so I'm asking, you know, that you take my words to heart, you know, because it's just not going to be the same old, same old. It can't. Okay, I'll stop there, you know, but stay tuned for part 2.
Yes, sir. Nah, no. I mean, but you know what's cool though is shoot, I just went ahead and went into what we were going to discuss anyways.
Yeah.
While you were out, and
Mm-hmm.
it was divine timing for you to come right back in, because what I wasn't sure of is like how much of the curriculum did you want to share, with the tribe tonight. I started to get into it, but I'll wait till you got back on, to see exactly like how much you want to share based upon, I know you've notified me of a few different places you've seen some of the content and the shows and the topics and a lot of things that we talk about in other places. So I didn't know if you want to share the whole, shebang, or you want to just kind of give a couple of appetizers and teasers, like when you go to the mall and the food court and they got the little, the little appetizer on the toothpick for you, man. Here you go, get a little bite and a little sample of that right there. I don't know if you want to give a whole sample or you want to kind of give like a appetizer, or if you want to give like, the little light first 2 phases of the, the courses of the meal, or how you want to do it. So I said, I'll wait till you got back to see where you want to go. And then Kosi, shout out to Kosi. I spoke to Baba about what we spoke about, bro. We got you. So just to let you know, you already know what it is. And Kosi.
All right, well, let's hit with jabs. You know what I mean? We're gonna give an entree, so to speak. You know what I mean? It's going to be a what they call it, a buffet.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
I do want to hear from the people. And any question, my good people, from any of the podcasts, that comes to mind, please. I wanted this presentation, this day, to be more open to responding to your questions throughout. Now, I'm going to have the commercials for example, when it comes down to the Institute, the first month is going to be geared towards a continuation of Baba Orisha Bami's groundwork. And that is, relying heavily on the ascension papers from Imoye, and also work from the Global Perspectives book. Okay. What is it that we have had to work through in order to liberate our minds? Now, tying back to giving homage to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Sister Elder Mrs. Coretta Scott King, their children.
Yes, sir.
And Dr. King's mother, whom, if I remember correctly, was also assassinated. They walked right into the church and shot her. Okay. So, we know what we've been given to know. And very few of us step outside of that projection. Okay. For example, we'll hear Dr. King's speech, content of the character more so than color of the skin, and I have a dream, and da. But we don't hear later on, he said, oh, I might have been a little bit too dreamy. He took a step back on it and said, my dream is a nightmare. And if he were alive today, I'm sure he would have seen that it's just not a nightmare, it's a night terror. Okay. Because for all that we work for, it's been 5 steps back and a half a step forward. Now, I only say that without getting all, political about it, is that we have to push back. And it's not necessarily marching in the streets or boycotting and all of what was done. But like the freedom fighters in our historical reality, not in our fanciful reality or our savior mentality and all of that kind of stuff, okay, but the actual people who worked hard, not just for our freedom but for our liberation. There is a difference. Okay. And why would we not have conversations revolving around Harriet Tubman, for example? Not just as a cliche, Underground Railroad, but trust me, you walk into any school at any given time, or even perhaps any church at any given time, and definitely in any elay at any given time, and start kind of bringing forth a deeper understanding of what was happening to us in respect and in regards to the Underground River. Now we can go beyond this country and start, with the Haitian Revolution, etc. Also talking about people like Amilcar Cabral, okay, from Guinea-Bissau, Cape Verde, who was assassinated on April 20th, back in 1973. And how he, like Fidel Castro, led a revolution to release us from the shackles, not only of body, but also of mind. Okay. So, we step out of this, bubble and into a larger universe where we have people like Cabral, where we have people like La Overture, where we have people like Tubman, and I'm just naming a few. The list could continue ad infinitum. From Mexico,
Dessalines,
on.
Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, I mean, yeah, we can keep going on and on.
On.
Too mature. Francois Macandile, Cecilia Fatima. Yeah, we
Maquerero.
Yeah.
Okay. From Namibia, the Germans were exterminating us, all close to 20,000 people before he staged the revolution. And this was before the Germans were doing it to the Jews. This was from 1904 to 1908, reduced the population by 80%. Namibia. But see, this is my point, my people. And that is, oh, we all into African traditional religions. Oh, we can sing the dances and we can, we can do the praises and all the we need blood and da. And everybody's going on and on and on and on. And are absolutely clueless as to the context of what being involved in African traditions, and I'll use that in quotes because sometimes it's just another way of saying uncivilized, being involved in the upliftment of our people and have no idea of the context outside of the Bembe, outside of, oh, I need to get a reading, outside of, Ebo. Okay. And I'm like, really, what's the point? We're just reenacting and we're getting smaller and smaller while the world outside of us, looking at the political situation again with the inauguration, of Klansmen, come on, let's just call it like it is, and racists and hard right wingers. And now we got House Negroes, just crushing people. Snoop Dogg, all of them, they Magna now. They was talking bad about Kanye, but now they following in the same footsteps. And it's like everybody's shucking and jiving. But okay, rich people, what are we going to do about that? We were just going to do another Ebo because somebody at the job, got on our nerves, or we got personal situations, happening. But we have no power and we're not represented. It's like we're still in slavery. We got to hide. We got to be meek. We got to stay in our lane. We're not going to educate one another. Again, go to any Ile and ask about African freedom fighters. Go to any Ile and ask anything, even about the geographical reality of Africa. Ask them about, I've had people, there was a Great Wall in Nigeria, but been into Yoruba, African traditional religions for 30, 40 years and know nothing about the empires, nothing about the people. Like we just dropped down, of course, from the sky and just made their bows all day long and ran around in the jungle and all whatever the Eurocentric and missionary views have been and have been taught. That's what we're carrying in our heads. And we want Shango and Oshun and, we want to do all the little pretty stuff except break out of captivity. And in order to do that, okay, we have to sharpen up our minds as well as our blades, okay, and have a direct purpose, not only for ourselves, but for each generation 7 steps in front of us. I, for one, I'm not going to sit back and just, we got this Nazi in office and it's going to be all right. We're just going to pray it away. No, we ain't going to pray it away. We could have prayed it away. He wouldn't be sitting in office. Okay. No, we're going to teach our kids. Okay. We're going to find ways. I think one sister, Tom, was talking about, they're not allowing like Ifa books into the prisons as openly as they were maybe 10 or 15 years ago, or even 20 years ago when I was literally in the prisons, with Ifa. So, okay. So now we find another way. Like I said, you can write letters There's things you can talk about on the phone. There's seeds you can plant. You know? But we just can't sit around and say, oh, we into African traditional religion and not be about the freedom and the liberation of our people. I don't get the, you know, I don't get it. Everybody want to be African as long as it's a drum, you know. But what about if it's a it's an intellectual movement? What about how do I change my life as a result of it? You know, what am I going to do as an accountable adult? Go get another reading? Yet another one? You know, at some point, I'm a priest. I'm a priestess. Am I going to learn to cast Obi? Am I going to learn the Mirindi Logun? Am I going to learn the Opwele? Am I going to learn the I King? No. Am I going to learn at some point too much blood is just too much blood? You know, there is a disease, you know, called that, you know. Okay. So, you know, I'm just asking that we reconsider. And if we really want to be taught something more than, you know, the syncretism thing, okay, well, what's the birthday and what color and what number and, you know, what am I going to do? You know, get 3 or 4 books and start cross-referencing and try to understand what you're doing. How about that? You know, how about that? Okay. All right. End of part 2. Any questions? You know, people. I'm hot. I'm hot. I'm telling you right now. I got the hot Orisha on my case tonight. I got a whole Django. You know, it's like, come on, we got things to do. This country getting ready to take a serious turn again for the worse. If you do a backsliding back into freaking plantation days. But I'm telling you. My name Tubman. My name Turner.
K.B. What's
Come on, man.
listen. Nah, I feel you, man. Listen, and you know, and shout out to you, man. Again, because this has been my reading material for the week. I'm a shamelessly plug Ojise, man. Powerful piece of work. Like I said, it really brought me to a whole nother place. You know, and I won't go into that story again. I'm going to share it multiple times, but I am going to touch on to some of the content that's in here because, you know, since we're speaking about Ojise, page 94, you have a chart that is dope because it pretty much, and mind you, I haven't fully read this book. I think since 2021, but it reminds me of something that I've learned from you, which is called the PDK, and that's what prior-based knowledge, right?
Hey, P.K.B, but that's all right.
P.K.B, that's what I meant. P.K.B, right? Prior-based, prior knowledge base. So it's funny because now, mind you, I haven't read this book, excuse me, like fully probably about 4 years, but I do, you know, dive into it from time to time just to kind of, you know, kind of brush up on some skills and just learn new things. But as I look at page 94, it says the stages of endeavor. You have at the top of the chart the divine, right? So from that, I'm gonna go down to the bottom and work my way back up. But I would love to get your thoughts on to kind of like how this came to be or how spirit, you know, spoke it to you, like just how you know, what inspired it, right? So page 94 on Ojise, figure 1, stages of endeavor, the divine. On the bottom, you have external and internal study and worship. And then you have arrow to cross-reference awareness and synthesis. And then outside of that, we have mental, intellect, physical. Then we move up another notch. We have psyche, logical development, balance, and then we have spiritual realization. And then on the outside of that, excuse me, that box, we have the mental, intellect, metaphysical. Then when we get to the top, we have the divine psyche, logical state, mental, intellect, divine. Now,
yes,
and I'm gonna share that just in case. I don't know if y'all will be able to see it or not, the way the camera's set up, but
yeah, It's too bright, man. We can't make out the words.
Which is cool, but I just wanted to share that.
Yes, sir.
Looking at that, Baba, it reminds me of the 7 chakras and how you attributed each Orisha to one of the 7 chakras, right? Was that similar? Like, was that a similar concept behind what I just shared with the tribe, or was that like a different, like a uniquely distinct, process or strategy for you to put that particular chart in there? Because that one is powerful too, but it reminds me of the Orishas, in regards to like the elevation of energy and the divinities within the energy elevation, rising. So can you share a little bit about that with the tribe?
Sure. Okay, and many thanks for sharing that. It is reflective of the chakra system, because we experience a system of thinking. Okay, let's say we can correlate it to train of thought, right? A part of the meditational process, if you will. But here we see meditation as focus and concentration, okay? And being able to hold within one's mind the image, okay, or the sound, the mantra, and continually hold it until it begins to, if you will, seep into various areas of our mind. Because see, our mind is layered. How can it not be? I presented this small exercise to a group of students and said, can you hear yourself when you're not speaking? No. And they thought about it for a minute. And they're like, yeah. I can hear my thoughts. I don't really need to hear it physically, but I can hear it. And as one student shouted out, I can hear it mentally. I said, okay. So now we're talking about being able to come to an understanding of something detached from the senses. And let's call that the psyche. Okay. Some people might call it paranormal, but what we are kind of dancing on the fringes of is what we kind of discussed a very long time ago, and that is the rising of the Kundalini yoga. Now, what we don't seem to put a finger on the pulse of is that our ancestors were doing yoga and meditation on the western and middle and northern and southern regions of Africa. It's not a Hindu thing or Indian thing. We had the Upanishads before the Brahmans came with the Vedas and all of that and made it into yoga. But there are stages and states of mind, and we of the priestly order seem to be clueless. And even when we do get into quote unquote Eastern sciences, we don't seem to include the African experience as part of it. And I used to wonder, brother, so if we're talking about the Western world, Greco-Roman, Germanic, and now, Western European and Western civilization. And then we talk about the East as, being of the Asiatics. And I used to, well, then where is Africa? If it's not the East and the West as far as social studies in school and all of that, and religious studies and all of that. So where are we? And we're exactly where we are being taught to be, and that is nowhere. Okay? So I want to reintroduce not only cognition, but also the meditational, the deeper mindset of our ancestry. You know? So again, we're just not doing things and coming up with reasons, you know, dare I say, excuses to continue a regurgitating of, oh, what somebody told me, and this is what I was taught, and all that. So, well, what are you thinking within yourself? Can you do something mentally? You know, you talk about Orisha. Ori is the intelligence of one's being, attached to senses, but also detached from the senses. And that's what takes us into the psyche, the psychological, okay? Takes us into the spiritual, which is the deepening of the essence of the psyche, okay? The metaphysical, okay? And from that, there comes a self-realization that we are so much more than what we've been taught to be. Okay? We are so much more. And even those of us who are into African traditional religions, be it Yoruba, or Bantu, or, you know, or the Ghanaian, or whatever, you know, if we just dwell in the arts and the rituals blindly, basically, then we're missing the power of the human being, the power of being, period. And we talk Oludumare and all that kind of thing, but it's like we're far from it. Far from it. Because, you know, we're not going to reach it like this. We're going to reach it like this. Okay? Okay. That's why I presented it, Baba Orisha, baby. You know,
Yes, sir.
concisely.
Nah,
You know?
I love it, man. And I'm still, you know, kind of strolling through Imoye and just looking at all the, you know, all the wisdom that's in here. But one of the questions that I wanted to ask personally, because I feel like I was sharing with the tribe while we were trying to get your, you know, your internet back up. But one of the things that I wanted to go over too, again, Mom, about was like the significance of course, the sacrifice of self. And what I mean by that is, you know, by what are we doing to sacrifice eliminating the lower vibrational frequency habits, or by eliminating the liability, you know, behavior, the liability, you know, ways about ourselves, right? That's one of the most powerful sacrifices that we can make above the blood sacrifice, right? So, but one of the things that, you know, we were speaking about when you was off is like how we have people who have made it through the first 1, 2, 3, some even 4 stages of initiation, whether it be the, you know, the receivers of the Elekes, or the receivers of the warriors, the Ajagun, the hand of Ifa, you know, initiation, Ifa initiation, etc. But one of the things that I felt like stuck out extremely, I feel like powerfully to myself, but also to a lot of the feedback we got, was on the Warriors episode when we went deep into the tools of Ogun, right? Well, we went into Eshu first, and I was sharing that, like I said, while you were going, about how I learned like how deep that was in regards to Eshu with communication and in the nervous system. I was like, yo, that, I mean, when you think about it, it's common sense, but I just never thought about it that way until you broke it down that night. But then now I was like, we're talking about, you know, doing work for self, expansion, elevation, crystallization, actualization, manifestation, you know, etc. So when it comes to the power of Ogun, and it comes to those who have made it through that phase, who have the cauldron, who own the pot of Ogun, can you kind of share with us the tools that are in there and what they represent in regards to the peeling back of the layers, or dare I say, the digging within self to kind of mold and forage self, like that iron that we know Baba Ogunye is so, you know, powerfully known around the globe for being, you know, a relentless worker and a master of the iron, you know, iron material. So Baba, how can one who has received their warriors with Ogun and Ojise use tools? So first of all, why are the tools there? And then what does each one of the tools represent?
Okay. Again, concisely, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I try, brother. I really do.
We here for it, man. We trust me. We here for it.
Yeah, we got we got a lot of years up in here. Okay.
I want every one of them too.
Well, it came to me one day, and like one of my daughters would say, yesterday night. You know, it came to me yesterday night, some years ago, that they're tools in this cauldron, you know, and I received them. Ebo was done. I received mine in Puerto Rico, you know, in the old San Juan area, you know, and it was like, okay, so here are your warriors. Okay, all right. So there's Ogun, Ojise, is the Osun, and in there you have all these tools, and these are the tools that Ogun works with. Okay, so you know it's in my early years, and I'm just, you know, I'm just riding on the train, man. I'm just riding on the train. I'm like, okay, it's all good. It's all good. I got my warriors, get back, and we got my Eshu, you know, so it's all good. Okay, but by the time I made Ifa and Ejibo, 91, 90, back in 92. Okay, and then I was sitting there. And I'm looking at my warriors, and it was like something kind of rose up out of the pot, if you will, the okoko. And I'm like, okay, what, you know, what's going on? And it was like, there's more to this than this. There's more to this than this. Okay. So I found myself going into the pot and taking out all of the implements and just laying them down on a towel. And then it dawned on me yesterday night, okay, that these tools were symbolic of the work that I needed to do on myself. That machete just wasn't for dancing, you know. Dancing is cool. We need dancers. We need reenactors, okay? You know, we need artists. We need writers. We need philosophers. We need priests. We need priestesses. We need them all. And at different stages where we will perhaps see ourselves kind of dividing ourselves, you know, onto roads that call us. Okay. After all of our initiations and, you know, pure saturation with just doing the same thing over and over again. But I digress. That machete was the first one that spoke to me. It was like, what you need to work on cutting away is some of this foolishness. What you need to work on is cutting away some of these distractions, okay? And however you see yourself being as a traditionalist, you need to stay straight on course, okay? And then it was the shovel, you know? How deep inside of myself do I have to dig before I reach the treasure of myself, okay? And what seeds do I now plant in the earth that I've turned over within me? You see, so as all of these come on, raking through, you know, gathering up, siphoning out people, you know, you can't have everybody in your crew and expect to fly high, because too many of them they're weighing you down. Okay, so you got the hammer and the anvil. Okay, and like that iron that's being, you know, forged into a tool, into a farm implement, into a whatever, you're going to have to go through it. If you're not willing to go through it, then why am I here? You know, as Ogun, why am I here? You think being a hunter is easy? You think being a warrior is easy? You know, you think being a mover and a shaker is a la-di-da endeavor, you know, and all you got to do is, you know, feed me like I'm starving, you know? And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm getting it. And then the Ojise thing happened, and all the way up to the summer that passed when I got possessed by Ojise, and I had me out there in the forest for 7 daggone days. In my whites were being reinitiated. And so that greater affinity, and I had to go buy a bow and arrow to just say, all right, Ojise, I'll get you. You know? And I used to do a little bit of archery, you know, back in 1971-ish or whatever. Okay. So all that was coming back to me, but I was getting it. Okay. And then the Osun. Okay. And I had to learn that Osun shouldn't be hollow. You know, because the people who initiated me, I saw them fill my Osun, you know. And then of course I read up on it and then I learned. And imagine how surprised I was to find out that there are people now getting Osuns that there's nothing in it. There's nothing in it. It's just a piece of metal, you know? But that's the state of things these days, I guess. Like I said, I've been out for a while. I've been raising children and raising children. You know what I mean? I've been in the hood. I've been working, establishing institutions. I made professorship. You know, I've been teaching literature because I saw that as a powerful statement, you know, in terms of pipelines to prisons and who rules over prisons in Ifa and Isheshe. Okay, how many of you know? Oh, well, let me tell you, it's Ojise. Okay, and it was no small wonder that Ojise possessed me to give me more years of protecting our babies from becoming, you know, the incarcerated, the dead. You understand? You know, so again, trying to be concise. Okay, that's my word for tonight. Concise. Okay. All right, Baba Orisha, baby. Stay tuned for part what number am I on? 4,
Look,
3. I don't know.
I can't keep up. I'm gonna say like 4, man. Let's just go with 4. That's a good number, man. I think 4 is a good solid number, a good even number. Can be multiplied, divided, broken down, real easy to calculate. Easy to go with 4. But shout out to and Kosi had a good question. I told him I would bring it to the floor. So let me share his question real quick. And shout out to So Nkosi has, how does one determine the spirit of the day, Olojoni, and is it the greeting of the cardinal points or with divination tools? So, Baba, I told him I got stuff I would share with it, but I wanted to bring it to the floor to let you, you know, do it how you want to do it, and then I'll get with him on.
All right. Well, that's cool. You know, it's very cool. Tutu, you know. So the whole thing is that brother and Kosi, that different people have different ways, brother. You know, depends on what stage you're on. You know, I don't want to say level because I don't feel as though one is better or worse than the other. You know, well, it just depends on what side of the river you're on. I put it to you like that. For me, I placed, you know, my incense to the 4 cardinal directions. And I call on Olojoni 3 times. Olojoni Ibashe, Olojoni Ibashe, Olojoni Ibashe, Ariwa Ibashe. Okay. And so forth and so on. Again, for class. Okay. Now, then what I see happening is the spirit of the day makes itself known through what I pick up in my senses, and then what I pick up detached from my senses. So I said, okay, I get what's happening today. You know, it's like when you get a new car or another car, but new to you car, and then you're driving down the highway, and then you start being able to you see other cars like, man, that's just like my car. Those cars been driving by you all day, every day for the past 4 or 5 years. But when you get a car similar to it, you start to pick up on it. Okay. So when I see things driving by me, I can relate automatically to an Odu, to an Orisha, to a situation, to how I best need to manage myself, because that's the spirit of the day. And I have to be in harmony with it. Okay. And for the most part, I am. Now, I ain't going to say I'm 100% because, boy, sometimes there's just other things that just like, I'm going to do it anyway. And then it's like, damn, why did I do that? The spirit of the day was trying to tell me, So it's like, yeah, but that's my way, But I've been a Babalawo since 1991. If somebody is just a Babalawo or just, exploring, the Oloye, then I might suggest your Obi. If you're just, exploring, I might suggest you determining what the spirit's going to be in the day. Like you're reading Ojise and say, okay, well, I'm just going to turn to a page, and whatever the page says, I'm going to look out for that, and as Baba and Iya Orishas and Baba Laos and Iya Nifas, you may divine. If you so choose to divine every day, then as they say in the song from back in the 80s, that's your prerogative. Okay. But for somebody to sit up and tell you, that there's only one way to do it, and you need to do it this way, and if you don't do it this way, the research, like, please, okay, take that back to the freaking cathedral some daggone where, we don't roll like that. We take where a person is and where a person wants to go into consideration. And as Professor Dr. Sophia Oloye states, Ifa is religion, but more than religion. Ifa is philosophy, but more than philosophy. Ifa is a culture, but more than a culture. And I'll continue with Ifa is you and all that is within you. So how you perceive the spirit of the day has so much to do with your perception. And your perception will change over time if you work on it. And that should be an endeavor to work on your level of perception and perceiving. Okay? Ashe. Thank you, Melly. All right.
Ashe. Yeah, man. So Baba,
Sir.
There was a question on the channel in the comment section. Brother asked, and I didn't get a chance to. I meant to screenshot it to you and send it to you, but this week's been a lot, on my plate the last week and a half, 2 weeks, or what have you. But it caught spirit. It just kind of spoke to me. So the brother sent me a message, or sent us a message on the channel underneath. I think the last. I'm not sure which episode it was, but he was asking. I guess it was the episode where the topic, or it got brought up about that some cultures back in antiquity, or a long time ago, or I don't even know how long ago, but a while back, were actually conducting human sacrifices. So the brother asked a question as to what Odu was that in, and so I was like, that's a Baba Karade question. I'd have to ask Baba. So I forgot to send you the picture of it. But anyway, if you wanted to get into that, if not, I know it's a little off topic, but it just kind of crossed my mind.
No, it's right on topic.
Okay.
And I think people should hear it. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to recite Odus, because I'm not an Olodu. Okay. All Babalawos don't have to be, pouring through the cookie cutter thing. I went through that on one of our podcasts, that there are 5 roads of Babalawos. And I've also added that there were 5 types of ebos. Okay, when we did the Ebo and Ewo. So my response to that individual is, you know, that's not what I'm here for. Okay, now if you want to question if the Yoruba people were doing animal sacrifices, question if they're doing human sacrifices, then you can pick up any book. Okay, and there's no denying that human sacrifices were a part of not only the Ifa construct, but the Greco-Roman construct, the Asiatic construct, the Kemetan construct. Okay, people throwing virgins in the freaking volcano, kind of thing from the Polynesian. You know what I mean? So it's not up for debate. I don't have to validate it, via an Odu, scripture. I just don't, and then I'm not going to get into doing that. But I will tell you most definitely, as a student of world cultures, that yes, and even yes, biblically, okay. So this whole thing about human sacrifice goes on and on and on, and there are instances when we take Iamoremi, okay, who was caught in the midst of a war between two opposing tribal nations. Okay, she goes to the diviner, and the diviner shares with her that she needs to sacrifice her child, and so she does it. And then she learns that the whole kind of costuming that the enemy was doing, in terms of their battle fatigue, that it was them behind it. She was able to relay that to the war chiefs of her tribe, and then they were able to defeat the battle. But that's just one instance. It goes on and on and on. Okay. Again, biblically speaking, people were sacrificing the children. I'm reading a piece now, by Zora Neale Hurston, going back into 500, 1,000 years before the birth of Christ, where all the ancient people of that time were doing it. During the time of the Trojan War, the king of Greece sacrifices his daughter for favorable winds to take him into Troy. And evidently, or subsequently, I should say, the Greeks, through Odysseus and the Trojan horse, they win the war. Okay. Now, the queen, the mother of the child that was sacrificed, winds up killing the king because she's grief-stricken, but that's another story. The whole point is, if you going to sit there and think that the ancient tribal nations of Yoruba land weren't doing human sacrifices, then you are kind of way behind the 8 ball. I suggest, doing a little cultural studies as opposed to, trying to go biblically, well, what verse in the Bible is it? And blah, 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 blah. What difference does it make? The point is, it was happening. And there are verses in Ifa that state that one time, a Romulus child was put up to be, sacrificed. And he was like, oh, let's rethink this. And there were times in the Yoruba construct where twins were sacrificed. So, yeah, all of this existed, But see, again, we're Catholicized. Oh, what Odu was it? And where did it say that in the Bible? And the Quran doesn't say this and all that. What did I have to do with it? The fact is, it was being done. Accept it. Accept it. It was being done. Learn the culture that you say you are a adherent of the religious aspect of. Okay. Now, is it still being done? Okay. Well, evidently not. You know, is it still a matter of question when it comes up to like animal sacrifices? From what I've been reading lately on the media and all the windstorm of people trying to convince everybody that, oh well, Hiroshi Meiji, the pregnant woman asked Ifa if blood was necessary, and at first Ifa said no, so she offered water, but then Ifa changed his mind and said, okay, well, no, we need blood. And so then she goes on about how blood is necessary, and there's iron in the blood, and there's so much component of blood, and we need to give blood, and we need to give blood, and we need to give blood. You know? And I'm like, you know, that's what the Aztecs were thinking about human sacrifices. That's what our African ancestors, you know, were thinking about, sacrificing their children or sacrificing their captive enemies, that it needed to be done. It needed to be done because the human sacrifice was the epitome of sacrifices, because the human being was definitely higher than a chicken on the evolutionary scale. So of course we want to give the highest of sacrifices, and we want to give what's most dear to us. So we're going to sacrifice our babies. But, you know, people came along with a different way of, you know, perceiving, and said, you know what? For all of this, we still get conquered. For all of this, we still get enslaved. For all of this, we know we still have strife, and, you know, people in high places doing some pretty low things. So maybe there's something more than blood. You know, maybe there's an ascension of self. And then, of course, the priestly orders, they don't want to hear that because they're getting paid, you know. So this is reality, you know. I'm not going to hide behind the Odu. I'm going to come straight, you know. And again, any cultural reference you pick up, it's going to be there because it was there. There's this term that came across my desk just a minute ago, and it's called cultural inertia. Cultural inertia, okay? And that means that when a group of people, or let's just say even a person, is so stuck on the way that they think a culture is, and I underline they think because none of us were living 500,000 years or longer before the birth of Christ's Gregorian stopwatch thinking, okay? That just refuse to accept that there's something else, that there's some kind of moving on that needs to take place based on historical factors, based on geopolitical factors, and based on social factors. Okay? I think it was Brother Kansu last podcast, when we talked about Ebos and Ewos, podcast before last, and we're talking about, oh yeah, you go get a dog, okay? And you say you're going to sacrifice that dog to Ogun in the United States, okay? And see if that doesn't bring about a little bit more of a problem than you doing it to a chicken, okay? We had to make adjustments because of the society that we're in. I've seen dogs being sacrificed in Ejibo, okay? I've raised dogs. I felt for that dog. You know what I mean? But I didn't feel for it like the people there were feeling for it. In Korea, they raise dogs and they eat them. It's only now, but because of westernization, that they're starting to, you know, change their ways. But that's because cultural inertia will bring you to a screeching halt. and everything is going to pass you by, and you're still hanging on to some old idea that you know nothing about in terms of your experience. You can study it. You can come to understand that that's what used to be done. Because those same sisters crying out about, oh, we need to do more blood sacrifices and more rituals. But when you talk to them about, oh, you want to be somebody's sister wife? Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Well, I don't get you.
Switch lanes real quick on you, huh?
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah. So you want to do what you want to do, and you want to come up with some, flaky excuses about, oh, this is necessary, this is necessary. And I'm telling you that you're making it necessary. Okay? You're making it necessary. You're stuck in cultural inertia, but you know nothing about the culture. And if you're looking to find it in the Odu, you may find it. Because there's over 600 verses per 256 Odu. But I'm giving you the shortcut. Study the culture of the people. Study the evolutionary stages that they've gone through. Orumila put a stop to it. Human sacrifices for a reason. Do you think everybody was down with his program? Oh, no, they were not. They were not. Okay? This ain't no walking on water kind of thing that we're talking about here. Okay? There were uprisings in Ile Ife. I mean, see, we keep going to these elays and we keep doing what, oh, well, this is our religion and this is our tradition, and we don't know jack. And we're just going on some notion, oh, well, this is necessary. Ifa says we need to keep doing blood sacrifices. Well, I can come up with Odu that says not every Odu and that in every given situation requires it. Now, if you were jumping up and down and hollering about being an authentic human being in a Yangidi, if you were jumping up and down and hollering about Iwa Puele, Iwa Lewa, and Iwa Aye, okay? If you were jumping up and down and hollering about Iwa Kiri, people being on a spiritual path, then I would hear you. But all you jumping up and down and saying, oh, we if you're not doing blood sacrifices, then you're not practicing Ifa. I'm like, who the freak are you? Who are you to say that if nobody's doing it your way, then it's not Ifa? Okay? But I gotta take a breath. I gotta cool it down. Open to where you at? Well, come on, man. I need you right now. Okay? Because like I said, I come on with the heat. Because see, we need to burn through this. We need to burn through this. Okay? Because when we really think about it, it's ridiculous. And I'm not trying to put anybody down. Please don't get me wrong. But I'll put it to you this way. When I really think about it, I just have to smile inside, because people are a reflection of their Catholicism, of their Eurocentrism, of their Westernization. And they want to get into our religion, our spirituality, and start telling us what's right and what's wrong. And we know inside that we are right. We know it. We know it. I know that I'm right, even if I'm just right for me. Even if I'm just right for me. And I want all people who hear me to be right for themselves. Be right for yourself. This ain't no freaking cookie cutter. This ain't no factory made African spirituality. It's like, what? Where's Oshuniyi? What? You understand what I'm saying? Come on. We can do this. We can do this. We can become thoughtful, mindful, and intellectual. We can know our culture and not just regurgitate it from some syncretism. And we can come to truly realize that we aren't attempting to go to heaven. We're attempting to ascend as human beings and be self-caring. Okay? We need to care for ourselves and accept Orisha and Ifa as being the attendants and the supporters of that caring. of that kindness, of that nation building that we are set to do. Why else are we here? You know? Oh, what do I have to give Shango in order to do that? I got into a situation one time, and Orisha, baby, I'll stop here. But something that you told me about Eshu and the neighborhood, you know, I had a similar situation in the school where some folks were like trying to devour me, man, because I failed their child because she didn't do what she was supposed to do. So they take her to another school. And then when they get to the other school was like, well, she failed the grade. You know, you're going to bring her here and we just supposed to put her, you know, in the next grade. You know, I mean, who do you think you are? You know? So then they said, oh, well, he tried to hit on her, and because she didn't hit back, you know, he failed her. And I'm like, whoa, Jack, you know. So the next thing you know, I'm going in, you know, this situation, but because I got back and I got integrity, it was like, nah. But I can remember one night the sky was clear and I just looked through my window and I said, Shango, I did no wrong. You know this and I know this, but I need your help right now. I need your help in resolving this. Because see, this young girl and her mama and her auntie and her grandmama, you know, they head hunting right now. They head hunting, you know. By the next morning, the situation was resolved. Like, all right, Mr. Karade, you can go back to your class. It's done. And the suits walked out. And the child and her mama there looking all stupid in the face. And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay, because see, you're going to learn. You're going to learn. Okay? And then I walked out. And I ain't never looked back. I ain't even looked back. You see? And I was thanking Shango forever. Did I go give him a rooster or a ram? You know what I mean? Did I get all crazy about it? No, I gave him my sincere thanks for helping to resolve a situation, because I'm a black man in the school system, you know? And all I needed was justice. You see? That's where I'm trying to get us. And I was so happy, Orisha Baby, when you shared your experience that was akin to that, because we're Ojise. These things happen for us. See?
I share. I share. Yeah. And you know, I really literally only shared my experience with it because I was trying to positively influence someone I consider a friend. So you know, and at the time he was dealing with something that was it had him in a bit of a tizzy, and you know, it was pretty hot. And you know, I get why he was hot, and you know, I respected it because I felt like he had a legitimate reason to be, you know, in a tizzy and kind of, you know, in the space that he was in. However, I kind of wanted him to learn from my mistakes, or from, you know, behaviors, I should say liability behaviors that I'm still working and chipping away at, you know, mastering. Although, yeah, I'm not gonna say I'll never master it, but I know I'm damn sure still a ways away from, you know, even speaking the word mastery. But I've made progress, and I'm at peace with that, you know, because I'm not where I aspire to be, but I'm definitely a lot further along than where I was yesterday. You know what I mean? Or days or weeks or months or years ago. So I'm proud of that fact. But I got a lot of work to do. But I wanted to share with him how, you know, channeling, he's another child of Obatala. So I like, by channeling the essence, you know, by channeling the personification of Obatala, we can then literally channel, you know, that energy. We can tap into that level of energy, that frequency of serenity, of peace, of, excuse me, quietness, of all the things that, you know, exhibit or personify Baba Batala. We have the ability to tap into that essence of that deity, of that energy. So I was like, yo, that's what I do, you know, when I get, you know, into positions like that. But I did also recommend the way of communicating with Eshu. because what I wanted to do was just to make sure that we weren't crossing the line of intention, and kind of allowing any sort of retaliation to be a part of it. I wanted to go into, what we were doing with good intentions, as well as focusing on Iwa Pele, and then intentionally asking for assistance, but doing it in a pure place, just like you said, with how you gave your thanks to Baba, to Kabiesi, to Shango. So it's like, when I know for me personally, when I go at it that way, the odds of it happening and manifesting are extremely high, in my favor. But if I'm not in the right space and I'm not, tapped into that Ori, the Ori Inu, or striving to elevate into the Ori, upon read, then it's like, it ain't necessarily going to be the same outcome as when I do have that kind of energy, when I go into any type of intentions or manifestations, etc. So that's what it was. I really just was trying to help him to like not make some of the same mistakes I've already made, and I felt like paid for or learn from. I'm like, bro, just get these answers, take this experience, and then just chill, man. Let the energy take care of that, because trust me, it will, and you'll feel a lot better if and when it's handled for you, when you had nothing to do with however it's handled. You know what I mean? So that's the part where I want to share that with him, so hopefully it kind of inspired him to do something similar.
But you see how powerful that is, though. It's not something that well, come on, we got to do divination, and go get 10 chickens and 4 pigeons. Sometimes you just gotta hear people. I tell one of ears that I'm working with. Listen, okay. Because see, even when I was in Nigeria, there are times when I walk into and the elders were there, they go cast the OB and come back and share something with me. They never told me, oh, well, now you got to go do an ebo, or now you got to go do this. And every month, you got to stand on your head and count to 7 backwards or whatever. The whole thing was like, no, I'm your elder. I'm sharing with you information based on the situation as your elder. And I confirm that with the OB. I don't go to the OB to figure it out. I'm grown. You understand what I'm saying? I don't need this. Whatever you've been through, young man, I done been through 4 or 5 times. So all I need for you to do is sit down and listen. Now, whatever else needs to take place after that, and I need to go to my OB, then I'll go to it. But see, this is what was shared in some of the podcasts back, because I'm pulling from past podcasts, and that is we over rely on the divinatory system because we don't have elders. Okay, we over rely on it because we don't have trusted elders. We over rely on it because we don't really have a system that we really, really believe in. In terms of growing us and raising us. We don't have the mentors. You understand? And that has been going on for the past 600 years as far as this country is concerned, going back to the 1400s with the Portuguese. So all of that was stripped away. Stripped away. So we're seeking wisdom from Ifa, which is cool, but it's still a matter of who interpreted when they wrote it into English. What philosophical sandwich, piece of the bread is it between? What cultural condiments are we putting on this turkey sandwich? Okay,
I like that. Cultural condiments. I like that one. I'm about to borrow that.
It's just a slab. But when we put everything together, now we have a digestible cultural realization. We're moving from reality, not from stories, not from verses, which are basically stories, etons or stories, okay, of a time and place where we did not live, we did not exist. Okay, so we try to squeeze out the proverbial knowledge, the theme, the wisdom, and move forward. And now again, there's people, well, we got to do the elbows too, but you're not even doing the elbows like the verses say. So what is your problem? You're not doing the elbows like the verses say. Because if they say a ram and you live in up in the apartment, you know what I mean? You know, and you have no way to do it, or you're at an Elay when they don't do 4-leggeds because it's really too much and too expensive. And then what if you do it? What are you going to do with the meat? Because you're not in an environment. And so what are you going to do with that chicken? You don't even bury it, so it becomes part of the cycle of life. You know, people around here, like I shared before, and we're just leaving the freaking dead chickens out in the park. You understand? Insanity.
I've seen it here. They leave it right in the road. And what's really sick about it is some of them wouldn't even wait till they got, you know, at least a ways away from where they got the work done for them. I'm like, damn, these people doing the work for you, and then you're gonna go right down on the same street or barely maybe take a right and then just dump, you know what I'm saying, the elbow right there in their neighborhood. Like, where's the respect, man? Where's the reciprocity at? But then it goes back to what we were speaking about yesterday about how long do you, as a priest or priestess or Yanifa Babalawo, how long do you work for or do service work for people, clients, devotees, etc., when it's just a repetitive process, when that person is not doing the work to sacrifice the liability behavior? You know what I mean? So that's where it goes back to the conversation we had yesterday, because I feel like the people who are really doing the work to chip away at, you know, striving for Iwa Pele, striving to reach, you know, a celebrated Egun or ancestor rank, or striving to become an Orisha, you know, when it's all said and done, based upon the work that you have done for 7 generations to come. So if you're really working on that aspect of it, instead of just trying to get whatever blessing or whatever, you know, you're trying to get, you know, to manifest, then I feel like we really ain't even talking about those types of things. You know what I'm saying? But that's the reality of where we are. You know what I mean? So it's like, those are the people who I call the BBL spiritual people, because they want to go and get a little surgical procedure done to an animal and sacrifice that animal. Like you said, I'm gonna quote the Oba Oloye Baba Karade, but now you're just becoming a serial killer. Because if the person is just doing this just to get a edge, or just to get something to manifest, or just to get something to pop, you're doing it for the wrong reason. And also the people who's doing the work may be doing it for the wrong reason too. But I'm not going to get into or judge that, because I get, you know, people have bills to pay and work to do. But at the same time, what I've seen is the more you do work and good work with good intentions, I feel like the more opportunities and blessings are thrown your way. And I've seen that in my own life firsthand. Like, when you're doing the work, then the opportunities come. When you're not doing the work, then you probably ain't getting that many opportunities. You know what I mean? So yeah, Kosi, that's real. Like that's what it is. Like they people are going to get work done but not do the regular daily work. You know, so it's just like we go back to the gym and the workout. You know, metaphor that we used a while back too. Like, you got the people who will go out, even men now getting damn BBL, which is nuts to me, but whatever. But they'll go and get paid for muscles, you know what I'm saying? Like, to kind of walk in like a day later, like, or however long the procedure take, like they've been working out for a year. You know, it took me almost a year to go from being a real skinny dude to, you know, a dude that had, you know, a decent size. And so, and I mean, like, going hard, like 4 or 5 times a week. And so I know how long it took for me, but I've also seen people in the process in the gym, whether they were big and wanting to get smaller, if they were smaller and wanting to get bigger, or if they were just average and wanting to get ripped up, whatever. I've seen the process of other people's transformation, and it only took place after work, day after day after day after day. So if you do the work works. If you don't do the work, then what are we talking about?
You know, but that brings to mind this word it passed through me when you were sharing the conversation you were having with the brother, getting him to see. And that word is Abba, A-B-A. Now, Abba,
my bad. I was looking at the
Yeah,
words you had in the back of Ojise, the definitions you had in the back. I just was reading Abba. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's
all right, we tuned, man. We tuned in. All right. So, good people, Abba is that process of channeling Ashe. And you hear people say Ashe, 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 Ashe all the time. Okay? Ashe, almost, it is Ashe. I'd like to hear Abba more often, because Abba is that process of bringing that Ashe into you, and then that Ashe brings itself into the internal Ashe, but through your willful processing, through your inner focus on your inner being. And when we start talking about being spiritual from another dimension other than Western, we may start to understand Ifa and Isheshe a whole lot more than those who are so biblically influenced and so Western in their mindset. And again, it's not a put down, it's not a judgment. It's just an observation. How can it be debated, or even worse, how can it be denied? Okay. So now we start to look at this process of Abba, and we're channeling the energy. We're internalizing Ashe. We're mixing the Ashe of our blood, if we want to get into that like that, with the Ashe of the cosmic. We are sacred dust, literally. Okay. And so through our various practices, other than bloodletting, other than, drumming and chanting and waiting to get possessed, I, I was getting possessed long before I've gotten initiated. That part of me getting into Ifa and Isheshe was like, I get out in nature and something comes over me, and I'm eating flower petals and talking to the rabbits, and I can sit down and all of the little creatures would come around, and I'm sitting there and people are like, well, bro, what you on? And I'm saying, I'm on life, man. I'm on life, man. Okay. So, this whole thing about, being able to bring forth the essence of nature from within, that's Abba. And one way to work on it is through breathing exercises. Okay? Because the breath is said to be the daughter of Olodumare. But what Elay are we going to? And they say, all right, now we're going to do some breathing exercises. And people are like, well, breathing exercises, I came here for the giddy up. I want to get mounted. I want to, I want rum sprayed on me, and I want cigars smoking. I want that, and I want all of that. I want the sensationalism. Come on, bring it. And I get that, especially for the young folks in the room. You know what I mean? But I also get that there's more to it than that, which is what most people don't seem to get. They think that's just it. Well, that's our religion, that's our tradition, and that's how they do it in Cuba, and that's how they do it over there. That's how they do it over there. Yeah, well, but see, all of that was a result of what we had to do via enslavement that we're still having to do because we're kind of still enslaved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in multiple ways.
And just because we speak Spanish,
psychologically, spiritually, financially, there's a lot of different ways. A lot of us are dealing with some sort of either enslavement or oppression. Bye-bye, real quick, because I gotta, unfortunately, I hate to have to wrap it up, but I got a lot going on with the,
Gotta go.
Okay. But I had a couple questions that I did want to get to before we wrap it up, because I know when Kosi had another good one, I told him, I screenshot him. Matter of fact, I texted it to you, Baba, so you'll have his. I told him we'll hit it in the community call, because it was a dope question. I feel like that's going to take some time to unpack and go in. So yeah, I was like, we'll hit that probably either tomorrow or on the VIP call to go, in depth with it. But Mr. Brown also had a dope question too. I'm gonna pull that to the floor. He said, "Why is it that you think that perceptions need so much work in the deifications being so vast when God is ultimately a unifier?" I thought that was a good question, Baba.
Okay. Well, I'll put it to you like this, Mr. Brown. Even your statement that God is actually a unifier is a matter of perception. Okay? Not everybody believes that. We definitely don't come into this world believing it. It's something that we're taught. We come to embrace it based on our levels of perception. And if God is a unifier, then it's a unifier of what? Because all creatures eat and all of mankind has been at war. So what is the principle of unification? You see? I'm not asking, for an answer. I have no answer. Because the moment I try to put God into a whatever, then I realize that it's all a matter of my perception. You understand? So our perceptions need to be worked on so we better perceive ourselves. That is the whole point of Ifa Isheshe. And again, that's why it's called Orisha, because our Ori is paramount. The empowering of our Ori is Orisha. The Orisha that we've come to know are also a matter of our perception. Okay. There's many people who will disagree all the way to the hill. That they have nothing to do with us. They're out there somewhere. Okay, just like the angels of God are out there somewhere. Just like the demons are in hell. You know what I mean? But you got to understand that grown men sat down and wrote these stories and through war, perpetuated their beliefs. And we're subjected to that. And so what if I don't believe that God is actually a unifier? Because I'm not seeing too much unification going on. I see a world that is cyclic. I see a universe where things come and things go. So what is the unification but a Christian, a Western doctrine that has been taught to us since our first day going to church, or our first time sitting around watching television and seeing somebody else's perception, and then we take it on. That's why I think that we need to work on our perceptions of what is and what is not, according to how we perceive and what is important to us. And I dare to think that self needs to be a part of that. That self needs to primarily be that. And this unifying God who I don't know if it's the Christian God you're talking about, or the Muslim God you're talking about, or the Jewish God you're talking about, or the African God that you're talking about. Which God you talking about? Because from what I've seen, outside of Olodumare, all them other gods that I mentioned, they got some issues. They got some issues. Like wiping out all of humanity and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, really? Killing all the firstborn and all that kind of stuff. Where's the unification in that? Okay.
Burning down massive acres of land in their own countries and abroad to take over, land seizures. So crop dusting, chemicals in the air to their own citizens, poison in the waters to their own. I think the guy that, has the most influence on this part of the world is the guy that's on the paper.
Well,
or who they would perceive to be a god. Let's not get
their perception.
Let's not get those tones into the god conversation. But yeah, that's some of the stuff that we see here, in America, and other parts of the world. But this part is, it's a lot.
Oh man, come on! The manifest destiny, they're wiping out our Native American brothers and sisters. Ever pushing westward. Well, God gave us, we're the manifest destiny thing. Yeah. And then and before that, the Spaniards from Florida on through to New Mexico, just killing off people, wiping out civilizations, and in the name of God. And here come the Catholic priests with the cross and all that kind of stuff. God is a unifier of what? Of what? What perception of God does these people have that allows them to be genocidal? I mean, what? Come on, this is real. And that's what I'm talking about. I ain't looking for biblical and Odus and all that kind of stuff. Let's start perceiving the reality of life and quit hiding behind religion. Quit hiding behind religion and perceive self. Ultimately. Ultimately, what else are we here for? They shut us down so much we can't even see ourselves. Okay. And we into Ifa and Ishe. Oh, we're into our African religion, blah, blah, blah. We just Christians dressed up. Okay. And we're going to do this and going to do that. But the mindset, we know nothing different. I'm here to say, time to break that. Time to break it and quit playing with grown folks, 50, 60, 70 years old. Some of the young folks, 30, 40. But
some of them young folks got souls that's older than some of the 50s and 60-year-olds.
I
know that. I know a couple of 7 or 8-year-olds I know for a fact, so probably older than mine, and probably anybody I met. Because, and I've seen this with my own eyes. Like, for real.
I believe you.
Yes, sir.
I believe.
That's
but my point is, we old souls, regardless of chronological, and the thing is to let those old souls loose. Let these old souls loose. Let these old souls. Jesus is the God of the West. Jesus only became God a couple of hundred years ago. This whole Jesus is God thing, that's not ancient. That's not how it started. That would be blasphemy back in the day. You better be careful not to say that. That's a new concept brought on by these right-winger folks, people coming in with, and now Jesus is God. How is that possible? So if Jesus is God, then I'm God too.
Yeah, you goddamn right. Yeah, whether he is or not.
He ain't no better than I am. So it's like, you know what? So okay, so if Jesus is God, then I'm God. And if I can perceive me being God deeply enough, I can see the God in you. So you know what? Baba Orisha, baby, you God too. You know what, everybody out there? You God too.
Yes, sir. I know that's
so
right.
If you want to believe that Jesus is God based on what somebody decided to write down, somebody, then why can't you believe that you're God? And why can't you believe that your brothers and sisters right here, right now are God? Because see, we're Western oriented. We're still looking at Oyimbos as being the givers of our faith and our religion. So if they say Jesus is God, then we gonna believe it. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. You know, they don't have that kind of power over me. I'm a Babalawo. I'm an Ifa priest. Okay. Know who you're talking to and what you're dealing with, because see, I'm gonna fire back at you, because see, you can bring it in and sound all nice and sweet if you want to, but it's the same ish, and it smells just as bad, and it's like, no, done with it. We got to come to a point where we're done with it, you know, so that we can move on. Okay, now you want to step into the institute, be ready. You know, if you think we're gonna do choir boys and all that kind of stuff, then I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not down with it. I'm not down with it. Come too far, been through too much to be playing, you know, games. Okay, so no, Jesus being God, that's new. Trust me. You know, me being God, that's old. You know.
Yes, sir.
That's written in my DNA.
Yeah. Not listen, and I feel like I know for a fact, and Kosi was saying in regards to like that's just the culture that we're in. I know he wasn't agreeing and co-signing that.
Yeah. He just
Mm-hmm.
just gave me a target. That's all. I ain't shooting at you, brother.
He knew it. Look, and boy, you hit a grand slam too. Cause listen, I don't. That made me want to go another hour or two. If I could, I would, man, for real. Cause you got all the way riled up, boy. You sounded like me the other day when old boy made that little foolish comment the other day. You sounded like me, boy. You got all the way in the bag on that one, man. I don't know if I seen you get that turned up on the air yet.
Oh man,
I love it. Look, but that goes back to, you know, and I'm gonna sign off with this because I don't even want to go no further after you just hit that bomb. But that's where in the private calls we go in, and that's what I was saying to the tribe, like, you know, in the private community and the institute, but we don't stop and pull and hit the brakes, like you know, it's all the way pedal to the metal. We drive, we here now, so. And that's how it is, but it's passion, you know. That's passion that you're speaking with, you know. It's fire.
Yeah.
That's the lightning bolt of, you know, Sean Gold. Those are the lightning bolts that strike down the walls of oppression, you know, and adversity and hurdles. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what that is. That's that pressure, you know, and it's coming at lightning speed. So, you know, and I give thanks for it. And in closing, when you were speaking about God, I started having like a little mind movie start playing, where when I think about God, I think about the breath of a brand new newborn, you know, who was just born breathing, you know, in your face when you're holding them. I think about holding the hand of my grandmother who has made it through the, you know, 3.5 out of the 4, you know, expected laps around the track race of life. I think about seeing, you know, the children going off to school on their first day of school with their fresh clothes on, you know what I'm saying? Got their good sneakers on, like they chilling. You know, I see it in the person who lost it all and was down to $0, 0 home, 0 car, 0 anything, but had to resolve to not quit and stand 10 toes down and pull their pants up and grab their nuts and start swinging and coming back and hitting the grand slam to become a millionaire, a billionaire. You know what I'm saying? Like to winning in all phases of life. That's what I think about. Like when I think of God, I think about family reunions where you have 4, 5, 6, 7 generations all in the same environment, you know, love and peace and harmony. Like, you know what I'm saying? Everybody just chilling, getting it, kicking it. Like that's what I think about when I think about God. So with that, phenomenal episode. I don't want to I don't want to end it. Mr. Brown, look, the tribe going in, Baba. You got everybody turned up, man. You got them turned up.
Yeah.
Mr. Brown said, "Look, man, let me chill. I ain't trying to catch a bullet. Nah, we ain't sending no bullets, family." He was laughing, but he felt that passion too, man. He felt that energy, man. Baba was ready to start turning up, man, for real.
But you know, my closing statement is, you know, I ain't got nothing but love for my people, man.
Yeah.
You know, because see, I found that love deep within me. And like that Ogun pot that had all them tools in there, you know, trust me, I've used every last one of them to find that deep-seated love and that deep-seated passion and that deep-seated purpose. Why did I become an Ifa priest? Why did I become a Babalawo? Why did I go all the way to Nigeria by myself 2 times? Okay. And deal with the perilous journey. You know what I mean? And walking into lands unknown. It was my pilgrimage. You understand? But it was because I went in and let that spirit guide me. And that spirit knew what it had to fight against. It had to fight against all of the conditioning, all of the reinforced conditioning, all of the consistent and constant da. They keep cementing the wall back up every time I break it down. And I know that that's what all of us are going through. But because I love you, because I have passion in my battle, in my fight for us, that I come across like a warrior, because that's what I am. That's what I am. I'm not playing at this. I'm not trying to be pretty. I'm not trying to be cute. I'm not trying to dress up in all of the latest and, you know, act like I got it like that, because I don't. I don't even want it like that. I want to fight for us. I want to fight for our kids, you know? And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because we're the priestly warriors. We're the intellectual warriors. We're the emotionally ground set. We are grounded in our definition of our perceiving. We are grounded in our perceptions of the necessity of our involvement in Ifa initiation. This ain't no playground, you know? It's just not. It's a battlefield. But we have love amongst us, okay? We do. We really, really do. So when I come across a little strongly, just say, well, that's just old Baba. That's just old Baba. You know, he ain't getting in our case. He just getting in the case. Okay? All right, my people. That's my closing words.
Yeah. Nah.
Love, passion, and purpose.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
I see.
Right.
Yeah, man. That was dope, Baba. I appreciate you. Tribe, you know, Tribe's still going strong. I think we got more people in now than we had all night. But I appreciate you all, family, for joining us. We definitely got a busy week. Private community call tomorrow. Another live stream Wednesday. Baba, I'm gonna see, can we get another one in Thursday, Friday? I definitely get with you off the air to see what we could do, make it happen, because we definitely got a lot of work to do, especially with today. So on the way out, man, shout out to the tribe. Shout out to all of our new members. What's up, Baba? What you got?
Well, I need to say this name before leaving. And okay,
Go ahead.
please. Okay. Gaspar Yanga. When we started off, we were calling out names of our freedom fighters, of our revolutionaries who were shaking off the shackles of body and mind. You know, Gaspar Yanga from Mexico, okay, was the Toussaint Louverture of Haiti, okay, was the Cabral of Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde, you know, and who we could then was the Castro of Cuba. So he's been all in my ear about, you need to learn more about me, you know, as the Afro Mexicanos, okay, and how my liberation movement echoed throughout time. Okay, just had to do that. I'm done. You know, in the spirit of April 20th, 2025.
Ojise. Yes, sir. That's powerful, Baba. And what you saying that got me going into another final thought is the I got a lot of work, family. I got a library that's, you know, it's a nice library. So it's like all the freedom fighters that we've been speaking about, that we've been mentioning, Baba. I don't know if I have the last few that you mentioned, but I definitely have pretty much everyone else that's been mentioned on here, from the Marcus Garveys, the Nat Turners, the excuse me, the Tufan Louvertures, the Jean Jacques Dessalines, the Shikanta Diaps, the man. I mean, it's a lot. I got a lot that I'll be sharing. That goes back to that book list that I've been promising. So I'm still working on that, but I'm going to definitely have that out in the near future. Recommended book list. I think it's going to be at least two lanes of it. One's going to be, I say three. One's going to be geared towards Ifa, Sheshe. Another one's going to be geared towards like the Kemetic, ancient Kemet metaphysical aspects. And then the other one's going to be about the unsung heroes, like the teachers of the Shikanta Diaps, the John Jacksons, the Dr. Ben, the Dr. Clark, the Ivan Van Sertimas, like the masters of the world, that a lot of my generation, I feel like, and younger, and hell, maybe even some, elders in your generation, Baba, don't know about the masterful work that some of these, and I mean masters, like the masters who you and the Smallses and the Cabinets, like all y'all studied under the same master teachers. And that is why we see my generation and those, around my age or younger, see what we see in you all, because you all learn from some very powerful masters as well. So I'm going to take it upon myself to make sure that I do my best to put those masters in front of, our tribe, as well as the ones that we've been blessed to have on the platform. So with that, family, I definitely give thanks. Bodupwe to you, Baba. The energy was real strong, and I feel apropos, in honor of the king, so I feel like that Ashe energy is real strong, on behalf of the Igun and the ancestors, all of our freedom fighters. We come to you all to say thanks. We appreciate you all. Ashe tribe. Appreciate you all. Baba, I appreciate it. It's been real as always. I definitely holler at you so we can set up the rest of the week. And with that, family, please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see y'all on the next episode. And we appreciate all the love and support. Mudupwe, we out, family. Peace.
Coordination.
Ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé sàpò ìyàpọ̀, tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn, ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ, ẹja lọ pé eégún mo sí ẹni gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́. Forsake not your ancestors and praise your